I see this band, it will always have at least the attitude of being an underground band, regardless of who we're signed to or unsigned or where we're playing. Whether if that's, in 2 years down the road, if we're playing arenas or if we're playing the Blue Lagoon, 2 blocks away. We're always going to have the underground attitude. And this band's always going to be what each individual wants to have, a creation and expression. Instead of just simply compromising for a label, that would be, a nice title, per se. My idea.
Well, I think I can safely say that none of us really chose playing metal, especially, some of the darker, more underground stuff, to get rich. We're in it to express ourselves musically and get that expression out to the public. And, as far as being on a label, definitely having support is always nice, being able to go on tours and get your music distributed. But, I'm not crossing my fingers hoping that we're going to be on Nuclear Blast or, some of these bigger labels out there that really don't have any bands on there that sound like us. And, we definitely are underground and will definitely maintain that mentality, for a good long while.
I'm not sure what's the fine line between underground and not underground, We never even thought of being underground or becoming popular. It was music, for music, and only music. So if our popularity expands and becomes, it's not the fact we want to become popular. And if our popularity did not expand and become, it's not the fact we want to stay underground. But in each individual in the band, the concept of being loyal to the music is there. And that's what I think of just staying true to yourself. And if a label wants to pick us up and help us, good. But we always have the attitude of no compromise with the label, with anything basically. So music, number one, and attitude comes.
So you guys mentioned keeping music and creativity and your creative juices and forces your main priority, and also maintaining your own sound as Fiends at Feast. In your new EP, upon my first listen, I noticed a lot of folky kind of elements and some borderline progressive stuff as well. I was wondering what kind of led to these decisions. And is this something that you guys want to stick with in the future?
Well, that question will fit to this guys right here, but the only thing I can say as my vocal performance, I do like a variation of style, not just stick to one specific. But I'm digging what this guy's come up with, and I just try to fit in.
I don't think there was any decision in anything. The way the music works, we bring the music to the table, and the discussion comes along, after improvising and playing and practicing. Of course, arguments, and all that. So there's not really any agreement of what to follow, whether it's folk or extreme black metal or technical black metal or technical death metal. So whatever Fiends likes as a band, the music will flourish and it will come out, We're not going to say, all right, I want to write a song like Immortal. If a song comes along like Immortal and the 5 members love it, it stays. And that's how we progress. So if you hear folky music, you hear any more extremity, more blast beats, more solos, more prog, it's all the influences just coming through us and writing music. Take your turn, David.
I definitely I definitely think on this album, I can say from an outside perspective, I've watched these guys a couple times before I was in the band, and 4 out of 5 tracks on the album were new material that we had wrote when I first came into it, and the material is definitely, it definitely touches on a lot of different genres, black metal, folk, death metal, and there's some progressive dashes in there. But we've really kind of tried to hone in our sound and our style, especially in a lot of the newer songs that we've been writing. So this album definitely kind of sounds different than what the music was before I joined the band. But then again, bringing new creative influences into the band will change the overall sound of it, and I'm happy releasing it.
It's interesting that you mentioned that you did notice a strong influence of folk and progressive music on the EP. So that's basically what a lot of us listen to is a lot of folk metal and some of us also like a lot of more progressive stuff as well. So, we like bands like Ludacris, kind of a mix of being very folky and very progressive at moments too. And we do like a lot of progressive music as well, but we also like bands like Amon Amarth has a lot of very folky moments in as well, and they're all influences that have some factors in the product we come out with.
Well, just to answer your question, doing some of the stuff that we did on the album, I think the greatest example would be using acoustic guitars in a few of the different songs and a few of the different sections. Is, for me personally, it's something that I've always wanted to do. And during this recording session, I actually had the opportunity, whether it was because of the time or the technology or whatever it was, to actually add these to our music, and I have a lot of influences of a lot of different bands that actually span a pretty wide spectrum of metal, that have utilized things like acoustic guitars, percussion, different kinds of instrumentation that I've always really liked. To name a few, you have a band as brutal as Vital Remains. They have a song where they use they have an acoustic guitar solo off Dechristianize. A more progressive band like Opeth, or even all across the board in black metal you have a lot of folk influence. So I mean, it was definitely something that had influenced me a lot before we went in and did this recording. And another thing that I know, at least, is that everybody in this band has abilities that are not just metal, and I view that as something that we can use as a resource. And I think we did this a lot, whether it was like Nathan playing upright bass on one of the songs, or Trevor playing some Middle Eastern percussion. Just things like that. I feel like it's always important to utilize all the skills that everyone has in the band. And I view all these things not as being necessarily progressive or folky, which I think they definitely are, but to me it's more about texture. It's about really taking this music and making it as artistic as possible. Now, there's a big difference between being artistic and being artsy. I didn't do these things, or we didn't do these things to gain an audience or to be esoteric or to be weird. I did these things because I really felt like these elements could really help the music and bring out more of the message of creativity that we're trying to express. So I'm glad you took notice of that, and it's something that I'm proud of what we've accomplished as far as that element goes.
Yeah, no, and also, one thing that I just wanted to comment is just, when writing music, a lot of the times, we all use our judgment. If we do the riffs that, that are brought to the table, and if not, but we all agree to this, so it just, I guess it all comes natural.